You're suspended in an endless blue, the kind of blue that swallows everything sound, thought, even time. The water around you shimmers with fractured sunlight, each golden beam slicing through the surface and fading into liquid shadow. For a moment, you feel weightless. Your lungs fill with the steady rhythm of your breath through the regulator, and every exhale releases a trail of silver bubbles that spiral upward toward a distant ceiling of rippling light. Down here, you are free. Down here, the noise of the surface world cannot touch you. You drift deeper. At first, the ocean floor is alive with color. Coral blooms like ancient stone flowers. Tropical fish flash by like jeweled comets. The water feels warm against your skin, welcoming, almost playful. But with every slow kick of your fins, the palette fades. Reds dissolve into muted browns, yellows sink into green until the only color left is the cold, infinite blue. The pressure builds, subtle at first, a gentle squeeze on your ribs, but soon it's a tightness in your chest, a reminder that this beautiful world has limits. Shadows stretch in every direction, the light above thinning until it becomes a memory. Your heartbeat quickens, not from panic yet, but from a primal awareness. This place can hold you, but it can also keep you. You glance at your oxygen gauge. The needle has slipped past halfway. The realization settles in your stomach. Your time here isn't endless. No one told you that the deeper you go, the less you'll want to leave, and the more the ocean will demand in return. This is trading. On the surface, it looks like freedom. Limitless opportunity, wealth without walls, the chance to escape the grind forever. But the deeper you descend into its waters, the more you feel the hidden currents tugging at you. The shimmer fades, the weight increases, and the truth becomes unavoidable. You're not just chasing profit, you're managing survival. The surface is still there, far above, but it feels impossibly distant. The question is no longer how far you can go, it's whether you can return and what it will cost to bring something back. And so you kick on, deeper still, because the lure of what might be waiting down there is stronger than the fear of what you might lose. The adventure calls, but somewhere in the back of your mind, you can already hear the whisper of the hardest lesson. In this ocean, oxygen isn't free. Before we dive, I need to tell you something. What you're about to hear isn't pulled from some glossy textbook or a guru's highlight reel. It's not a roadmap to instant wealth, nor a foolproof formula to beat the market. This is something far more personal, far less polished, the kind of truth that doesn't make it into sales pitches. It comes from long nights staring at screens until the numbers blur, from mornings where the first breath you take is heavy with regret over a trade gone wrong. It comes from moments of triumph so sharp they cut through exhaustion like sunlight through storm clouds, and from crashes so sudden you wonder if you'll ever find the surface again. Every lesson here has been paid for, not just in money, but in hours, in relationships, in sleepless nights. I've walked away from dinners halfway through the main course to answer a market alert. I've stared at my reflection in a darkened screen and wondered who I was becoming. I've seen friends burn bright and disappear without warning, swallowed by the very thing they thought would set them free. This is not financial advice. This is survival advice. It's a lifeline for anyone who's ever felt the market's pull deep in their bones, the way a diver feels the call of the deep. And just like diving, trading will seduce you with its beauty, its promise of discovery, of treasure just out of reach. But if you go in blind, if you mistake that beauty for safety, the depths will take more from you than you ever imagined. Think of this as your pre-dive briefing. We're going to move past the sunlight zone into the darker layers where most traders never venture willingly. We'll talk about the pressure, the silence, the illusions that can cloud your vision. You'll see what it really costs to chase that promise of freedom, and you'll learn that the ones who survive aren't the fastest or the boldest. They're the ones who know when to breathe, when to ascend, and when to let go. If you've been waiting for someone to tell you the truth about this journey, consider this your signal. Adjust your gear. Steady your breath. We're going under, and I won't sugarcoat what's down there. But I'll also show you that if you respect the depth, you can resurface not only alive, but richer in ways the market can't measure. In the beginning, trading feels simple, a clean equation. If you win, you gain. If you lose, you pay. The screen is your battlefield, the numbers your weapons. You think the only cost is measured in dollars, the red or green in your account balance. But hidden beneath that tidy math is a debt you don't yet see, one that collects interest in hours, relationships, and pieces of yourself you can't replace. It starts small. You skip one dinner with friends because the market's open late. You push a workout to tomorrow because you want to catch the opening bell. You eat at your desk, crumbs falling between the keys, eyes locked on flickering candles. It doesn't feel like much in the moment, just small, necessary sacrifices for success. But over time, those small choices compound, like a silent loan you forget to pay. I once met a trader named Daniel. On paper, he was everything a young trader dreamed of becoming: tailored suit, gold watch, smile that carried the swagger of big wins. He slid into the coffee shop booth like he owned the place, but his eyes darted to his phone every few seconds, thumb flicking the screen before he even finished a sentence. I haven't taken a weekend off in 3 years, he admitted with a laugh that didn't quite reach his eyes. Even when I'm not trading, I'm thinking about the market. His hand trembled slightly when he lifted his cup. Was it caffeine or something deeper? His voice cracked as he said it, the confession that masqueraded as dedication. And I realized then, the market wasn't just taking his money when he lost. It was taking every moment he wasn't guarding. The price tag is hidden in the birthday parties you miss, the anniversaries you half attend with your mind elsewhere. It's in the nights where you watch the charts until your eyelids sting, then lie awake long after because your mind is still trading. It's in the friends whose calls you stop returning, the ones who eventually stop calling altogether. And here's the cruel part. The market rewards this obsession, at least at first. You stay longer at your desk and you catch a good move. You skip another dinner and you're there for a perfect entry. It feels like proof that you're doing the right thing. But what you're really doing is teaching yourself that your time, your health, your life are worth less than your trades. Years later, when you look up from the screen, you'll find the world has kept moving without you. The kids have grown, the friends have moved on, the body is softer, the mind more brittle. You can always earn back lost capital, but there's no buy button for lost years. If you were forced to put a dollar value on every hour of sleep, every conversation, every memory you've traded away for screen time, what number would you write? And if the market never pays it back, will you still call it worth it? This isn't about fear. It's about awareness. Spot the hidden price tag now, before the compounding debt of your own choices drags you so deep that no win feels big enough to pay it off. The market's toll is more than a commission fee. It's a piece of your life, and it will keep taking unless you learn when to stop giving. It starts innocently enough. One night you stay up late to catch a setup forming in the Asian session. Another night, it's a news release you can't ignore. Before long, 2 a.m. isn't late anymore. It's when the market feels most alive, and you convince yourself that this is the mark of real commitment. The charts glow in the dark like constellations only you can read, and the world outside your desk fades into silence. At first, you feel invincible, sharp, hyper-focused. You catch a few great trades, maybe even brag about them in your journal. You tell yourself you're outworking everyone else, and maybe you are, but you're also outworking your own biology. Sleep deprivation doesn't tap you on the shoulder. It creeps in quietly, tightening its grip one missed REM cycle at a time. Your reaction time slows by fractions of a second. Your judgment begins to wobble. The same chart you read with clarity yesterday now feels like it's written in a foreign language. And worst of all, you don't notice. I remember Lena, a trader who used to boast about hitting every market open: London, New York, Tokyo. She'd sleep in shifts like a soldier on guard duty. "I can rest when I'm rich," she'd joke. But when I saw her a year later, the spark was gone from her eyes. Her skin was pale, her posture slouched. She confessed she'd been making sloppy mistakes, closing winners too early, holding losers too long. Not because she didn't know better, but because she was too tired to think. The market hadn't beaten her. Her own body had. Trading on no sleep is like diving deeper with a slow leak in your oxygen tank. You can still swim, still see, still function, but every move is costing you more than you realize. And when the fog gets thick enough, The mistakes you make aren't just bad trades, they're potentially catastrophic ones. The cruel thing is, the market will never tell you to take a break. It doesn't care if you're running on 3 hours of sleep and coffee fumes, but your brain will, your immune system will. And when they fail, no indicator or analysis will save you. The shift that saved me was simple. I started treating rest as a trading tool, not a luxury. I set hard cutoff times for screen use, no matter what the market was doing. I built a shutdown routine, closing my charts, dimming the lights, journaling my trades, and I stuck to it. At first, I felt like I was missing out, but within weeks, my win rate improved. Not because my strategy changed, but because I was showing up with a mind sharp enough to make it work. So ask yourself, if your next trade could decide whether you grow your account or blow it up, do you want to take it at your sharpest or at your sleepiest? Trading is strange. You can lose a small fortune without a single witness, yet the weight of that loss somehow leaks into every corner of your life. The clicks of your mouse, the sighs when a setup fails, no one sees them. But the aftershocks, those play out in public, in the way you speak, the way you listen, the way you show up or stop showing up. I knew a trader named Marcus. On the outside, he seemed steady, even unshakable. He wasn't one to brag about wins or dramatize losses. But over a drink one night, he told me about the war playing out in silence inside his home. Early in his career, he'd talked to his wife about every trade. At first, she was curious, even supportive. But when the wins came, she worried he'd grow reckless. When the losses hit, she worried about the bills. Slowly, their conversations shifted from sharing to defending, from connection to conflict. Eventually, he just stopped talking about trading altogether. The silence, he said, was supposed to protect them, but instead, it built a wall, a thick, invisible barrier between them. They still lived in the same house, but it was like living on opposite shores of an ocean neither could cross. And it doesn't just happen at home. Friends start to notice you're too busy to come out. Family sees your distracted eyes even when you're sitting right in front of them. You tell yourself it's safer to keep your trading life separate, as if hiding it will keep the losses from spilling over. But stress doesn't respect boundaries. It leaks into your tone, your patience, your presence. In trading, isolation can feel like control. It can feel like safety, but it's a trap. You can keep your account balance private, but when the market drags you under, the people who love you will feel the current. What saved Marcus wasn't a better strategy or a big winning streak. It was risk reduction, not just on his trades, but on his emotional exposure. He started trading smaller, taking positions he felt comfortable explaining. He scheduled no market days and made them non-negotiable. Slowly, the walls came down. Conversations returned. The house began to feel like home again. So here's your challenge. This week, tell someone you trust one honest thing about your trading journey. It could be a win, a loss, or just how you're feeling. Let them in, not to critique you, but to remind you that you're not navigating these waters alone. Because the deeper you go in silence, the harder it becomes to hear anyone calling you back to the surface. Burnout doesn't arrive like a storm. It seeps in like a slow tide, each wave barely noticeable until one day you realize you're drowning. In trading, it's not the single bad day that breaks you. It's the constant push without pause, the grind that chips away at the edges of your mind until all that's left is a dull, heavy numbness. I've seen traders ride the wave of momentum convinced they could handle endless hours of screen time. Yuki was one of them. She traded every session, backtested between trades, and devoured market reports during meals. She called it discipline, wearing her hustle like a badge of honor. And for a while, the results matched her effort. Steady gains, growing confidence. But the cracks began small. Missed signals she'd never have overlooked before, rules ignored just this once, trades taken out of restlessness rather than reason. Her turning point came quietly. No catastrophic loss, no big market shock, just a moment one afternoon when she sat staring at the screen and realized she felt nothing. No thrill from a win, no sting from a loss. Just emptiness. Burnout in trading is more than mental exhaustion, it's physical erosion. Your nervous system runs in a constant state of alert, like you're bracing for an attack that never ends. Even when you step away from the charts, your mind replays what-if scenarios. keeping your body locked in fight or flight. Over time, joy drains not only from trading, but from everything else. The hobbies gather dust. Conversations feel hollow. I know this state too well. There were days I logged in not because I wanted to trade, but because I didn't know what else to do. Trading stopped being a path to freedom and became a cage I had built with my own hands. The truth is, the traders who last decades aren't the ones who grind the hardest. They're the ones who understand that recovery isn't optional, it's survival. They treat trading like a marathon, pacing themselves to avoid breaking down before the finish. They step away before they're forced to, taking breaks not as a reward, but as a requirement. When Yuki finally took a week off, no charts, no news, no market talk, she found herself painting again, walking her dog in the early morning light, cooking meals from scratch. And when she returned to the market, her vision was sharper. She no longer chased every flicker in the price. She was patient again. Burnout doesn't announce itself until you're deep in it. The only way to avoid it is to surface regularly, to breathe before you're gasping. In the deep ocean, divers must ascend slowly to avoid the bends. In trading, you must rise often enough to keep your mind intact. Ask yourself, when was the last time you came up for air? Control is a seductive illusion. In trading, it starts with lines drawn perfectly across your charts, support, resistance, trend channels so clean they look like they could hold the market in place. You study, you prepare, you backtest until you can almost hear the rhythm of the candles. For a while, it works. You call the moves, you hit your targets, and you start to believe you've cracked the code. That's what Alex thought. He'd built an algorithm so precise it delivered a 70% win rate for 6 months straight. It was his masterpiece, a machine that made him feel untouchable. He poured his savings into it, confident he'd found his permanent edge. And then, in the space of one unpredictable week, a geopolitical shock rattled the markets. His algorithm didn't just stumble, it collapsed. Years of steady profit vanished in hours. It's not fair, he kept saying, as if fairness had ever been part of the deal. But that's the cruelty of the mirage. It doesn't just convince you that you can control outcomes, it makes you forget that uncertainty is the only constant. The ocean doesn't care about your maps, and the market doesn't care about your plans. When control slips away, panic often takes its place. Traders chase losses, double their size, abandon the very rules that brought them success in the first place. It's not about the money anymore. It's about proving they can still dictate the game. But the harder you fight to bend the market to your will, the more it reminds you who's actually in charge. The truth is, the only control you ever really have is over yourself, your risk, your discipline, your reaction. Like a diver caught in an unexpected current, you can't change the direction of the water, but you can decide how you move through it. When I finally stopped trying to control the market and focused instead on controlling my process, everything changed. My stress My stress dropped. My results steadied. I stopped waking up in the night to check overnight moves. The market became less of an opponent and more of an environment. Unpredictable? Yes, but navigable. So think back to your last losing streak. Did you try to force the market to give back what it took? And how did that work out? If you've been clinging to the illusion that the conditions will always favor your plan, maybe it's time to loosen your grip. The ocean is vast, the currents ever shifting, and survival depends not on forcing them to obey, but on learning how to ride them without drowning. Addiction doesn't always come in bottles or needles. Sometimes it hides in plain sight, in the glow of a screen, the pulse of a candlestick, the rush of a trade that goes instantly in your favor. In trading, it often starts with dedication. You tell yourself you're committed, that you're putting in the hours, staying on top of the market. But somewhere along the way, that discipline turns into compulsion. Victor never saw it happening. He joked that he could quit trading anytime, the same way people joke about quitting coffee. But his day revolved around the market. He checked charts before brushing his teeth, at lunch, during dinner with friends, even sneaking glances in the bathroom at restaurants. It wasn't just about the money anymore. It was about being in the game, about scratching an itch that only the market could reach. The market, in its cruelty, knows how to feed this. Stay glued to your screen for 10 hours, and maybe once you catch a perfect breakout. That one win floods your brain with dopamine, reinforcing the behavior. Soon you're chasing the feeling, not the profit. And like any addiction, the stakes have to keep getting bigger to deliver the same hit. The cost is subtle at first. Meals go cold while you just check something real quick. Conversations become background noise. Your sleep schedule bends to the market's clock instead of your body's. Eventually, the market stops being a tool you use and becomes the master you serve. You're no longer making choices, you're answering to an urge you can't control. Victor's wake up call came in the form of a chart intervention from a friend. The challenge: 1 week without opening a single chart or checking a single ticker. The first 2 days were agony: restless, anxious, irritable. But by day 5, he noticed something he hadn't felt in years: quiet. When he came back to trading, he traded less and better. If you want to test yourself, try skipping a trading day, not because you have to, but because you choose to. Pay attention to how you feel: restless, anxious, irritable. If so, the market might have more of a hold on you than you think. Addiction doesn't always shout. Sometimes it whispers, wearing the mask of ambition. The question is, can you still walk away when you want to? Or has the market learned how to pull your strings? The market is not a forgiving teacher. It doesn't hand out partial credit. It doesn't care if you tried your best or if you didn't know. In trading, ignorance isn't just expensive, it can be lethal. And the cruel twist? Sometimes the market rewards ignorance just long enough to convince you you're on the right track. Sam was a bright, eager trader I once mentored. He had an infectious enthusiasm and a firm belief in his instincts. "I just feel the market," he said with a grin. And at first, it worked. Beginner's luck pushed him forward like a tailwind. A few risky trades went his way, and his account ballooned in weeks. He started to believe he was a natural. But the current always changes. One volatile week flipped the wind against him, and the gains evaporated almost overnight. His confidence, built on sand, collapsed with them. That's the danger of the unknown unknowns. The gaps in your knowledge you don't even realize are there. Ignorance wears many disguises. Sometimes it's not knowing how your broker executes orders. Sometimes it's misunderstanding margin or leverage. Sometimes it's believing you can afford to lose more than you actually can. But the most dangerous form is the blind spot, the risk you never even considered. And here's the irony: the market will often reward these blind spots in the short term. You take a poorly planned, over-leveraged position and it wins. That victory plants the seed of overconfidence, and overconfidence is the bridge to ruin. The only antidote is deliberate learning, not just memorizing patterns, but understanding the mechanics behind them, knowing why your setup works and when it's likely to fail. I've been there myself, losing repeatedly to the same kind of move, until I finally humbled myself enough to strip everything back and study price action from scratch for months. It was grueling, but it paid more dividends than any lucky win I'd ever had. If you can't explain exactly why your last losing trade failed, beyond the market went against me, then there's work to do. And that's not a sign of weakness. Every expert started where you are now. The difference between those who survive and those who vanish is whether they keep guessing or start learning. Think of it like diving. You wouldn't step into deep waters without checking your oxygen tank, your mask, your fins. In trading, your education is your gear. Without it, you're swimming blind, hoping the current doesn't turn, and the market doesn't care if you can't see what's coming. Losses are easy to see. They glare at you from your account balance in bold red numbers. But opportunity cost? That one is invisible. It's not the money you've lost, but the moments you've traded away. The dinners you skipped, the trips you delayed, the life you postponed because you were just waiting for the right time. Rachel knew this better than anyone. She'd been meaning to take her kids to Italy for 3 summers in a row. But each time, the market had something important going on. A hot setup, a big news week, a strategy she couldn't leave unmonitored. Next year, she promised herself. But by the time she finally booked the trip, her oldest was already in college and didn't want to go. The opportunity was gone, not because she couldn't afford it, but because she kept trading her time for money she didn't actually need yet. Trading has a way of convincing you that time away from the screen is time wasted. The charts are always moving. The news is always breaking. You think, if I'm not here, I'll miss something big, and maybe you will. But here's the thing, you'll miss bigger things outside the market too. Relationships grow through shared experiences, not through half distracted conversations while glancing at your phone. Skills develop when you practice them, not when you tell yourself you'll get to it later. Memories are made in moments you're fully present for, not on the other side of just one more trade. The danger is that you won't notice what you've lost until it's too late. No alert will pop up saying you missed your daughter's recital or your best friend stopped inviting you out. Those moments just disappear, and slowly your world shrinks to the size of your trading desk. I learned to fight this by scheduling off-chart days with the same seriousness I schedule my trades. No watch lists, no open positions, no market updates. Instead, I'd spend that time with friends, read books that had nothing to do with trading, take hikes with my phone turned off. The surprising thing? My trading actually improved. Stepping away gave me perspective I couldn't find in front of the screens. So here's your challenge. Think of one thing you've been putting off because of trading. A trip, a call to an old friend, a hobby you haven't touched in years. Schedule it this week. Non-negotiable. Because the truth is, the market will still be here tomorrow, but the moments you trade away for it, those are gone forever. The market isn't just loud in price action, it's loud in voices. Forums, chat rooms, social media feeds, YouTube gurus, all shouting predictions, trades, and guaranteed strategies. At first, it feels like community, like you've found a tribe that speaks your language. But volume isn't the same as truth. Colin fell into this trap. He joined a popular online trading group, and for a while it felt like he'd struck gold. Real-time updates, constant chatter, endless theories. It made him feel connected, less alone. But over time, something shifted. His trading journal was no longer filled with his own setups. Instead, it was a patchwork of copied trades, half-understood strategies, and impulsive entries he took simply because everyone in the chat was buying. When the group went through a losing streak, so did he. Not because the market turned, but because he'd outsourced his thinking. The echo chamber had replaced his own judgment. The danger here is subtle but powerful. If you're bullish, you'll naturally gravitate toward voices that agree with you. If you're bearish, you'll find your own chorus. In both cases, you stop seeing the market as it is and start seeing it as you want it to be, an illusion reinforced by strangers you've never met. And the worst part? Bad advice often comes wrapped in confidence. A voice dripping with certainty can make even the worst idea sound plausible. Before you know it, you're acting not on data, but on borrowed conviction. Breaking free means building a filter. Every time you hear a tip or read a bold prediction, ask, does this align with my plan? Do I understand the reasoning behind it? Would I take this trade if no one else was watching? When I started limiting my exposure to trading chatter and built a small circle of peers I trusted, my trades became slower, more deliberate, and most importantly, mine. The goal isn't to shut out the world entirely, but to make sure the voices you let in sharpen your perspective instead of dulling it. The market is full of currents, and not all of them lead where you want to go. Learn to spot when you're being carried and decide whether that's a current you actually chose or one that will leave you stranded in waters you never meant to swim. There's a kind of bankruptcy no bank statement will ever show. It's not measured in dollars, but in the reserves of patience, resilience, and hope you carry inside. In trading, emotional bankruptcy creeps in slowly until one day you find yourself staring at the screen, not caring if the next candle goes up or down because the well inside is dry. Martin had been trading for over a decade. He'd weathered crashes, booms, algorithm glitches, and broker outages. He'd survived them all with grit and discipline. But after a string of losses in a choppy, unpredictable market, something inside him snapped. It wasn't rage or panic. It was emptiness. He executed trades mechanically, without conviction, as if just going through the motions. Wins barely registered. Losses didn't sting. He wasn't making decisions anymore. He was just pressing buttons. That's the thing about emotional capital. You can't run a trading business without it. Every decision you make draws from that account. Every loss, every missed move, every streak of bad luck makes a withdrawal. And if you don't deposit anything back, rest, joy, perspective, you will run out. Emotional bankruptcy doesn't always come from losing money. Sometimes it comes from trading too much, too often, for too long. from pushing through fatigue instead of resting, from trying to control things that were never in your control. I've been there too. Logging into the market each morning with no sense of purpose, just habit. And habit is dangerous in trading because without emotional engagement, you stop truly analyzing risk. You stop caring enough to protect yourself. That's when the market takes more than money. It takes your will to keep going. The way back isn't through a winning streak, it's through a pause. Stepping away from the charts, letting your emotional reserves refill. Doing things that remind you why you wanted freedom in the first place. Not to sit in front of a screen all day, but to live. If your trading feels hollow lately, don't ignore it. You can recover lost money. But once you've burned through your emotional capital, the road back is long. Check your balance before the account runs empty, because the market can survive without you, but you can't survive without yourself. Every trader has a limit, a point where the weight of losses, fatigue, and frustration becomes too much to carry. The breakpoint doesn't always come with fireworks or catastrophic losses. More often, it's a quiet moment when you realize you can't go on like this. For Lena, it came at 3:47 a.m. She was in her dim apartment, still glued to her screen after a full day of trading and a sleepless night chasing positions in the Asian markets. Her eyes burned, her head throbbed, but she kept clicking through charts, desperate to make it back before the week closed. Then, in the middle of analyzing a setup she'd already looked at 20 times, her hands just stopped. She stared at the mouse, her fingers frozen, and thought, I don't want to do this anymore. That's the thing about the breakpoint. It's not a single event, but the accumulation of 1,000 small cuts. A series of bad habits ignored, breaks skipped, rules bent, stress swallowed instead of faced. By the time you hit it, it's not just your trading that's broken. It's your relationship with the market, and sometimes with yourself. I've hit my own breakpoint before. The signs were always there. Shorter temper, worse sleep, a creeping resentment toward the very craft I once loved. But I told myself I could push through, that stopping would mean failure. The truth? Stopping was the only thing that kept me from quitting entirely. Some traders never recover from their breakpoint. They walk away from the markets forever, too burned to come back. Others take the hit as a wake-up call, a chance to reset, rebuild, and trade from a place of clarity rather than desperation. The difference lies in how you respond in that exact moment when your hands stop moving. If you're near your own breakpoint, step back now. Take a week. Take a month. Let the urge to get it back fade. Then, when you return, make sure you're not just chasing profit. Make sure you're building something sustainable, something you can carry without breaking again. Because in trading, the breakpoint isn't the end unless you let it be. Sustainability isn't the most glamorous word in trading. It doesn't carry the adrenaline of high risk, high reward, or the thrill of big wins. But in the long run, it's the difference between traders who burn out and vanish and those who quietly keep building wealth year after year. When I first met Jorge, he didn't look like the stereotype of a high-flying trader. No flashy watch, no sports car. He lived in a modest apartment, wore plain clothes, and took Fridays off to go hiking. But his trading account told a different story. Steady, consistent growth over 15 years, weathering market crashes, booms, and every flavor of volatility. His secret? He didn't treat trading like a sprint. He treated it like a marathon with no finish line. Jorge had strict risk limits, never traded more than a small percentage of his account at once, and always made sure his time in the market left room for time outside of it. He didn't chase every setup, only the ones that fit his plan. And most importantly, he saw trading as a means to an end, not the end itself. It's tempting to believe that success means pushing harder, trading more, squeezing every last drop out of the market. But sustainable trading is about energy management, knowing when to engage and when to step back. It's about protecting not just your capital, but your emotional and mental reserves. I learned this the hard way. After years of chasing, overtrading, and burning out, I realized that the goal wasn't to win as much as possible, as fast as possible. It was to stay in the game for decades. That shift changed everything. I started tracking my stress levels alongside my trades. I built breaks into my calendar. I diversified my income so I wasn't leaning on the market for every bill. Sustainable trading isn't about avoiding risk. It's about managing it so you can keep showing up tomorrow, next month, next year. It's about building a process that doesn't chew you up and spit you out. So ask yourself, if you traded exactly the way you do now, could you keep it up for the next 10 years? If the answer is no, then sustainability might be your most profitable trade yet. Trading can feel like the loneliest job in the world. No coworkers stopping by your desk, no morning banter over coffee, just you, your screens, and the constant hum of the market. For some, that solitude is freeing. For others, it slowly becomes a cage. Amira started as a classic lone wolf. She loved the independence of trading, the control, the ability to answer to no one. But after a few years, she noticed the silence wasn't as peaceful as it once was. Losses felt heavier without anyone to talk them through. Wins felt oddly empty when there was no one to share them with. She started to wonder if there was a better way. The turning point came when she attended a small trading meetup. At first, she kept her guard up, worried about revealing too much or being judged. But as the night went on, she realized these weren't competitors. They were people who understood exactly what she went through every day. The jargon, the stress, the obsession over entries and exits, she didn't have to explain it. They just got it. Over time, that small group became her tribe. They shared strategies, but more importantly, they shared perspective. They reminded each other to take breaks. They celebrated each other's wins and helped dissect losses without blame. That connection didn't just make trading more enjoyable, it made it more resilient. Humans aren't wired to thrive in isolation. Even in a solo pursuit like trading, connection matters. A tribe gives you more than information. It gives you accountability, encouragement, and the reminder that you're not navigating this unpredictable sea alone. I know because I've been on both sides. Alone, I tended to spiral, overanalyzing every mistake, taking every loss personally. With a tribe, I had a safety net, not just for my account, but for my mindset. You don't need a massive network, just a few people you trust who understand the unique highs and lows of this path. Seek them out, trade together, grow together, because while you can survive as a lone wolf, you'll thrive in a pack. Some traders build their life around trading. The best ones build their trading around life. That's the heart of the life first trading philosophy, the idea that trading should serve you, not consume you. I learned this from a mentor who refused to check the markets before 10 a.m. The first hours of my day are mine, he told me. The market can wait. At first, I thought he was being reckless, missing opportunities, but then I noticed something. His trades were calm, deliberate, and almost always profitable. He wasn't chasing every move because he wasn't chasing at all. He was choosing. A life-first trader sets boundaries. They schedule vacations without guilt, close positions to attend their kid's recital, and shut down the screens when the sun is out. They know that missing one trade isn't the end of the world, but missing moments with the people they love often is. This philosophy doesn't mean being careless. It means being intentional. It's about designing your trading style to fit your energy, your values, and your goals. For some, that's swing trading with minimal screen time. For others, it's short bursts of high-focus scalping between other priorities. The point is that trading fits into life's frame, not the other way around. When I shifted to this approach, everything changed. My stress levels dropped, my win rate improved, not because I had more screen time, but because I had better screen time. I was showing up rested, clear-minded, and with something to go back to when the market closed. The irony is that when you put life first, your trading often gets better. You make fewer emotional decisions, you stop overtrading, and you start treating trading like the craft it is, one that's enhanced, not hindered by a well-lived life. So ask yourself, if trading disappeared tomorrow, what would your days look like? If the answer feels empty, it's time to build a life worth living alongside your charts. Because in the end, the point of trading isn't to win every trade, it's to win your freedom. And freedom is only real if you actually use it. In trading, everyone talks about profit in terms of numbers, account balances, percentage returns, gains and losses. But the real profit isn't always measured in currency. Sometimes it's what you gain outside the charts that truly matters. I once knew a trader named Devin who, by most standards, wasn't spectacularly successful. His account grew slowly, steadily, nothing flashy. But when you looked at his life, you saw something rare. He was happy. He took his kids to school every morning. He had dinner with his wife every night. He played guitar on weekends. He traveled when he wanted, worked when he chose, and never once complained about missing the big move. One day I asked him if he ever wished he'd pushed harder, taken more risk, aimed for a bigger fortune. He smiled and said, "What would I trade it for? More money or more time to spend the money I already have? I'm already rich in the ways that matter to me." That stuck with me because the longer I trade, the more I realize the market's biggest gift isn't financial independence, it's time independence. The ability to design your days, to say yes to what matters and no to what doesn't, to live without waiting for permission. Real profit is freedom. Freedom from debt, from a job you hate, from a schedule someone else controls. Freedom to walk away from the screen when the weather's perfect. Freedom to take the call, catch the flight, see the world, or simply be present. If you measure your worth only in market returns, you'll miss this entirely. The numbers will always fluctuate, your account will rise and fall, but if your life is rich in meaning, you've already won. So maybe the next time you look at your trading journal, ask yourself a different question. Not how much did I make, but how much did I live? Because in the end, the real profit is a life you wouldn't trade for anything. You've been deep underwater for a while now, diving through the hidden costs, the silent battles, the unspoken truths of trading. You've seen where the currents can drag you and where the riptides can pull you under. But now it's time to surface. Surfacing isn't just about breathing again, it's about coming up with something worth carrying forward. Every hard earned lesson, every scar, every moment you almost quit, these are the tools you take with you into the next chapter of your trading life. The purpose isn't to avoid the waves. You can't. The market will always have storms. The purpose is to navigate them without losing yourself, to trade in a way that sustains not just your account, but your mind, your body, your relationships, and your freedom. If you've recognized yourself in these pages, in the burnout spiral, the echo chamber, the mirage of control, then this is your call to action. Not tomorrow, not next month, now. Step back, assess, and ask the hard questions. Am I trading in a way I can sustain for years? Am I richer in life, not just in numbers? Am I in control of my process or just reacting to the market? The answers to these questions will determine not just your trading career, but your life beyond it. Because trading isn't the destination, it's a vehicle. And the destination, the real one, is the life you're building along the way. So surface with purpose, trade with intention, live with the same discipline and clarity you bring to your charts. And remember, the market will always be there. The question is, will you?